currently in the UK, we're experiencing a bit of heat wave. I don't know if that's what's happening over location as well. Are you experiencing that?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't. So I'm hoping there were a lot of people from Kansas who signed up. So I hope that they are joining us either now or later. So excited to see who all is here.
Join. Yes. So let's see. Okay, so I think usually it's live now on LinkedIn. Let's see. As people join, you see them in comments. Then we get up from there. Let me just messages just to welcome them. Welcome everyone. Nice to have you. All people are on. Welcome everyone. Nice.
Can I chat with people on the LinkedIn or on the live stream?
So yeah, I think some messages come to check the message. See new message. If you check, it brings in some messages from people. But I will be monitoring. I think most times people tend to drop messages on LinkedIn, and then I'll be bringing that forward.
Great.
Welcome everyone. Nice to have you join us. Yes, I can see 8 people are with us on LinkedIn, and that number is growing.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, this is going to be fun. Welcome, Julia. How are you doing today?
Hi, Wilson. I'm doing really well. I'm excited to be here. It's
Awesome.
really hot here
Dr.
in
Vivian
Wichita, Kansas.
Magnus.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, okay. No, it's fine. I wanted to drop that Dr. Vivian Magnus has joined us. She's just dropping to say hello to us. So yeah,
Awesome.
super excited to have you join us. Back to you, Julia. You're talking about the heat or
Oh,
the
yeah. I
weather.
was just saying it's hot here in the middle of the US. What's it like there in the UK?
It's also hot. In fact, we've gotten multiple warnings that we should expect it get hotter throughout like next week. So we're just bracing ourselves
Mhm.
and getting ready for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yikes.
nice to have you join us, Promise. Promise has joined as well. So the numbers, yeah, they're coming in. Hello, everyone. Nice to have you join us. We're so excited to have you today. And Julia has so much for us, and I can't wait to hand over to her. Okay, so maybe we'll just kickstart people. I respect people's time as they come. Let's keep going. So welcome everyone to the monthly Growth Blog webinar where we get very interesting people from different walks of life to just come talk to us about growth, productivity, leadership, and other topics. Our goal is to make sure that we build people who are well rounded, people who have the right knowledge, the right tools to be able to live the life they really want. I'm sure everyone who follows me knows this word. We live by design, not by default, right? We don't want life to happen to us. We want to be the ones to decide as much as possible how we want our life to go. And for today, we're having Gina, a coach, and I'm very excited to hear what my brain has to offer.
More
And
than you think,
all the
than you
things we
know.
get to learn that we can actually do. I know, right? So I'm also curious to hear about all of this. Just just show once again, we have 8 C's of success in the growth blog, which is more or less a roadmap for us to successfully build our dream career and life. And I'm sure, Julia, you agree with me. It always starts with clarity, right? Just gaining clarity around who you are, what you love, what you want to do, and then we go to courage, which is the second C, consistency, showing up even when you don't feel like, because I think that's where we grow, really, right? We don't feel like it every day, but it's very important for us to show up. Capacity, build the right skills, collaboration, network like-minded people, which is I've enjoyed our collaboration so far, and I'm learning a lot from it. And we need to see more of this. That's the idea behind this. Commitment, mentorship, and accountability. Um, Credibility, very important, building your personal brand and reputation. This is where I think the opportunities start forming when people see that this person shows up consistently and this person is quite credible, then opportunities start coming. And that leads to the final creativity. We get to cover globally and be rewarded for it. So most of the things we talk about, for those who haven't joined our community calls before or this webinar, most of the things we talk about, we try to center them around these 8 C's. They don't necessarily need to go in that sequence, but most of our guests, the things they say always order around some of these C's or all of it. And Julia today will be sharing some of that with us. So just before I take this bit more, maybe go to on chat and joining us from. I think that's awesome. Just yeah, you and your uh, your country, wherever you're joining us. Nice to see you, Gloria. Where you joined from? Samuel, Promise, Vivian. Please feel free to just share. I'm joining from the um, around the London area, so please feel free to share. And then we'll hand over to Julia to take us through. Oh, Rina, nice to have you join us. She's joining from hot Croatia. I know. Everywhere is really hot right now. Nice to have
It's
you
really
join us.
amazing.
Happiness.
Yeah.
Great. And
It's
funny enough, the
amazing.
weather was so cold barely 3 weeks ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, it's just, I'm just amazed at our world today that we get to, on a Saturday morning for some, afternoon for some, and evening, and maybe middle of the night for some, get to come together and connect. And so I just, yeah, I love it.
I think that's one good thing technology has done for us. Like, right? It's a global village right now, and we're just leveraging each other's strengths. And yeah, for me, it's an exciting world we live in. I know there are so many things happening, but we have to stay positive, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I want to just jump in because
Okay,
all those
so
things you're like setting me up for what
yeah,
we're going to talk about today. So,
in, indeed, indeed. And yeah, yes, now we get to meet our guest for today. Um, your name, Farrell. I don't know if I'm getting that well.
well,
What is
and
the right pronunciation? Please help me.
yeah, people who, if there's anyone from France here, you probably say it very differently than we do here in Kansas in the Midwest. So we pronounce it Lefevre. So I'm Julia Lefevre.
Hey, Julia Lefevre. I hope I got that correctly this time. Nice to have you join us.
Yep.
So, brief introduction. Um, I know you're a coach, you are a founder, but what else? What else should we know about you before we go into your session?
Yeah, I'm a former farm girl. Grew up on a farm, and my dad was a farmer. My mom's a nurse. Now I used to be an English teacher, so I love your C's because they they speak to my English word loving heart. I am a wife. My husband and I have been married for 29 years. I can't believe it. And we have 4 kids, ages 16 to 25. So
Wow,
life is busy and full, but so good.
it's amazing. And how have you managed to keep all of this together? Because with family, with work, we know it's a lot of responsibility, right? So how do you manage to keep this together? Just before we go into your session.
Yeah, well, you keep setting me up, and we're going to be talking about capacity. And part of it is just continuing to grow me, to lead me. Um, so often as leaders, we feel like we have to pour out. I have to lead my family. I need to lead my organization. I need to lead my, whatever you do. And if you aren't intentionally leading yourself in ways that will build capacity, you won't hold it all together. And I don't all the time. There are some messy days, but overall, it's been being able to grow who I am and my capacities. So,
Amazing, amazing. And that's what we'll be looking to learn today. How can we build our capacity to be able to understand the multifaceted side of life, right? Life is not one dimensional. So how can we put all
absolutely.
of that together? So I'll hand over to you now. Please go ahead. I think we're all eager to hear what you have to say to us. So I'll stop sharing my screen and hand over to you. Over to you now.
Okay. Well, everyone, it is so good to be here. And I think Wilson and his team are monitoring the chat. So if there are questions or I'm going to ask for some participation. So please participate as much as you can. So just today, in the time that we have, there are 4 things that I want to accomplish. So first thing is I would love to define self-leadership. If we're going to be talking about leading ourselves, we want to make sure we are all on the same page. The second thing is that I want to help you to recognize that the brain, I'm going to show my Bible mode we've all heard of, and we're just going to call it leadership mode or leadership brain, what we're all wanting to build, and just understanding how each one of those will influence the way you make leadership decisions. We're going to describe the 4 core capacities and I'm going to give you an assessment so that you can begin assessing where you are in each of these 4 capacities. And then finally, the hope is that once you've identified which of these 4 capacities can I grow, then I'm going to give you a resource that gives you a practical brain-based strategy to strengthen that core capacity. So, sound good? Are we ready? Let's jump in. So first of all, what does it mean to lead yourself? I would love to hear from all of you. Type it in the chat. What does self-leadership to you? And Wilson, I'm going to put you on the spot, and you get to just tell us what you think of when you think of self-leadership.
Okay, so I'm looking at chat, just waiting for people to drop their thoughts. Feel free to drop your thoughts on the question. What does it mean to lead yourself?
Absolutely. And while we're waiting, Wilson, what do you think? What do you think about when you think about leading yourself?
Very important question. And for me, I see self-leadership as my ability to define what I want and take full responsibility for what is within my control. My ability to really tell myself, this is where I'm headed, this is where I want to go. These are the factors that are within my control. I'm going to focus on them and exercise my will, my strength, my mental capacity to get there. I think that is what it is for me. Having a clear destination and walking towards that destination consistently. So that's what I would term self-leadership. That's what it means to me.
I love
Can
it.
get other from
Any other thoughts
yeah.
out there that are coming through?
Okay, so just waiting for them to drop on LinkedIn. Let's see. Any other thoughts?
Don't be shy out there.
Abigail, any thoughts on self-leadership? Anyone not shy? Who is not shy should please feel free to drop what
No
you
one
think
wants to be
for your
wrong.
definition.
which there is no wrong answer, by the way. Okay, well, just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and tell us what ChatGPT says. So, ChatGPT has become our go-to resource for so many things. So he or she or it says, self-leadership is your ability to direct your thoughts, emotions, and actions toward your values, even under pressure. It also explained a little bit more that, it implied that if you change your thoughts, you can change your feelings or your responses or your behaviors. And so there was a little bit of overlap with what you've said, Wilson, that there's a sense of having the ability to exercise my own agency, my own strength, my will. And there is a lot of truth to this. Like this is a good starting point. However, I want to put up a big warning sign, because what neuroscience is teaching us now is that your ability to direct your thoughts, so many of us try and do that with making a decision. The typical cycle of most leaders is that if we want to change our thoughts or take control over ourselves, then we often will want to get more information. So we'll read a book, listen to a podcast, listen to a speaker, get the information we need, and then we will create a plan, and then we will set up some structure. There is some structure to support us. And all of those things will work unless there is any emotion involved. And let me tell you why. So this is where I'm going to give you a quick brain lesson. Okay, are we all good with that? Here we go. We're going to jump into the brain for normal people who aren't neuroscientists. So essentially, we start with a stress response or some sort of response. Our brain will take in the information through the brainstem. So we actually start from the bottom of our brain. So I'm going to also show you a hand model of the brain. So pretend that my hand is our brain and my wrist is our brainstem. So information comes, it hits our brainstem first. Well, the brainstem's job is to ask one question: is my life in danger? If it is, or if there's something that needs to happen without any cognitive function, then our instincts will kick into play. And so that's where anything that's instinctual will come into play first. So then if it's not a life or death situation, then the information flows up the brainstem into what we call the limbic system, or your automatic nervous system. This is where motivation lies. Emotion is pooled here. And when this is the case, your limbic system is asking the question, am I in danger, not just physically, but emotionally or relationally? So your limbic system is very concerned with your relational connections. That's going to be really important to remember. If we're not in danger, then the information flows up into the prefrontal cortex. So this is your thinking brain. And it will first send information into the right brain, which then will start to create images, intuition, This is the creative side of our brain, which then sends the information into the left hemisphere, which is where rational thought and language lie. Okay, so done well, or in our leadership brain, the hope is that we have an experience that stimulates us. It goes up the brainstem to our automatic nervous system. We have strong capacity there. So even though we feel an emotional response, we are okay. And then it sends it up into the prefrontal cortex where our thoughts are created. And then our behavior comes out of the whole process. So that's what we're aiming for. Now, what often happens is when we're in survival brain mode, the stimulus is here. It comes through the brainstem, through the automatic nervous system. And if the automatic nervous system feels scared, if there is a threat to relational safety, then our lid flips. We skip over the thinking brain and go straight to responses, our behavior. So how many of you have known what you want to do? You have a clear plan. You have taken responsibility. You want to. You've prepared a way to do it. You have accountability. But at the end of the day, when something happens, you get triggered, your lid flips, and you cannot change your behavior. I'm a mom of 4, and so when my kids were little, this would happen when they would start arguing with something I asked them to do. I tell people, I didn't realize I had an anger problem until I had small children. And oh my goodness, there was no thinking. I knew I don't want to yell at my children. And yet almost every day I was yelling at my children, right? This happens in the workplace as well. You all have had those experiences where somebody says something or does something that flips your lid. Your response is not what you want it to be. So that's where this comes into play, where your response then becomes a trigger for someone else who then their limbic system flips. They skip over their thinking brain to a response or behavior, which then starts it all again. And you can see the cycle, how it happens. And like I said, we've all experienced this. So the question is, how do we stop the cycle? How do we build capacity? And so we're going today to really focus on the capacity side of this, but even more than developing the right skills, we're going to be developing core self. We're going to be developing ourself so that we can embrace the skills that we've learned and we want to use, okay, from the books, from the podcasts, and so on. So here's how. So first of all, capacity is what we're aiming for with self-leadership. And if you look at at human design, capacity is our internal ability to remain grounded, aware. A lot of people are using the word presence in today's world, aligned, especially under pressure. It's pressure that flips our lid. And so what I'm here to tell you is that neuroscience is showing us that there's more that you can do than simply coping with your triggers. You can eliminate them by attending to what's in your limbic system, what's subconscious. And so what we're going to talk about the rest of our time is how to address the emotional, mental, and relational spaces that you get to cultivate to respond with clarity instead of reacting for safety. So this is what self-leadership has to be. And here's how. So let's break this down. There are 4 core capacities. They do not all start with a C, and I'm so sad about that, but that might get too confusing. So, so let's just start with connection. So connection. This is your ability, your capacity to connect with your emotions first and then with others. Now, the reason emotion matters, I'm going to get out my little brain model here now. The reason emotion matters is because emotion is stored in here, and this is where our relational abilities happen. So if you are disconnected from your own emotions, my guess is that you will have a hard time connecting with others and their emotions. And so we've all heard about attachment, about the need for human interaction. We're currently, Gallup has told us we're in a loneliness epidemic, and it's because our capacity for connection is so low, partly because of our work structures, but partly because we're losing our capacity to connect with who we are before trying to interact with others. That's connection. I'm going to move to the next one, which is, definition. So we're kind of going in a clockwise circle. So definition is our capacity to know who you are and what you value. This is one of your C's, Wilson. This is, your need to establish clarity. And I just push that a little bit into before you can establish clarity in a workplace role or even through a boundary, you need to know who you are and what matters most to you, so that when you're creating boundaries, those boundaries can support who you are. This comes with being able to say no to things that won't align with who you are and what you value. So that's the second one. The third one is integration. If you look out your window, you will see things of beauty. But I would imagine most of us will also see a world that's really broken. You referred to that earlier. And a leader has to be able to hold on to the complexities of beautiful and broken without collapsing. That's the capacity of integration. Integration is a word that essentially means whole. And there is no person who is wholly perfect. There's no government that's wholly perfect. There's no organization that's going to be wholly perfect. But a leader who can hold the good with the broken is going to be able to stay present without their lids flipping. And then the fourth one is over on the other side to collaboration. So collaboration is moving from an authoritarian type of a leader to partnership, to mutuality in the room, regardless of rank or title. It's understanding that there's a mutual value of personhood, regardless of rank or role. So these are the 4 capacities. That is so fast. Like, this is killing me to have to go so fast. But so let me just go back to that real quick. But what I want to be able to give you is a way for you to explore these more with just a quick quiz. And so that's what this is. If you want to screenshot it, this will take you to a place where you can sign up and have this quiz downloaded to you. And so I want to leave this up for a minute so that you can get it, but then I'm going to go ahead and we'll have this up here at the end as well. Now, this quiz, it's not an interactive quiz. It's just a PDF of this so that you can just kind of work through it. So let me give you a quick kind of sneak peek. So what you'll do is you'll rank each of the questions under each section 1 to 4, 1 being no, never, to 4 being almost always. So for example, in connection, I feel both positive and negative emotions. Is that no, not really, a number 1? Or is it well, a lot of the times, often, number 3? And so you'll go through, finish all of these questions, you'll add up all of the scores, and then when you get the scores, then there will be a scoring guide, and you'll be able to see which area do I need or want the most growth. This is what I want to be able to show you. The way to rewire what is stored in here is through experience, because it was relational experiences that taught your brain how to protect you. And now it needs a new experience that kind of gives your brain an update to say, you know what, back when you were 5, this might have felt safe, but now for me, I'm 50. So now that you're 50, your 50-year-old self has developed a lot more capacity. And so let's practice a new way with somebody safe. And here's the key. When you look at these different options for engaging new relational experiences, you will notice that they are all relational. Self-leadership, and if you remember one thing from this whole time, self-leadership cannot be done by yourself. You cannot lead yourself by yourself. You have to connect with somebody who can work and interact with you relationally to give you new experiences, to update your brain so that you can grow your capacity. I could go on and on forever, Wilson, but I think we're at the point where, are there questions or comments, or I want to give you my information that if you want to sign up for more, you can go to my website. There's a place to sign up for my newsletter where you'll get resources like this. You can email me at my email. But what questions are out there, or what needs to be reiterated?
Wonderful. You just said something. I think the one thing you said about you can't lead yourself by yourself, it's a new information. Let's put it that way. That's a new experience. So, but yeah, that's something I don't think we've thought about. You need new experiences to rewire what you've always known, to be able to take that responsibility, like we've been talking about, both from an emotional perspective and mental and all of that. So for me, that is quite new. And yeah, it's just, and one thing I can relate with respect to that, for example, how did I learn about self-leadership, at least to the best of my knowledge, was by reading books. And logically, just thinking about it, that was me getting new information, new way of thinking from someone outside of me, though in a book. So,
It's
um,
true. And that will get you started, but you can
mm,
read. I mean, I don't know if you can see, I have so many books, it's
yes.
silly. But I can read books about growing my capacity for
Mhm.
connection all day, but until I practice it and until I do it, it will not change anything in my brain. Because, and I'm glad you said this, because what reading does is it affects our thinking brain. But remember, we're trying to grow capacity, which happens in the subconscious. The subconscious is impacted through experience, not through information. And this is something it's really hard for people to understand. It was hard for me to understand until I started experiencing anxiety. I couldn't read enough books. I couldn't do enough yoga. I couldn't do enough therapy. I went through 3 therapists. I couldn't do enough meditation, and I couldn't do enough deep breathing to eliminate my anxiety. I could cope with it, but I didn't want to live a life of coping. I wanted to live my life healed. And it was embracing different relational experiences that started rewiring this part of my brain so that my level of anxiety went from a 9 to a 1. And now all the energy I used to spend coping gets to go into creating and connecting with people and helping other people experience the type of restoration that I've experienced, because we're targeting the root cause. So I just invite people, don't give up reading books. I still read. It's a great starting point, but it can't end there.
Confirm you can still hear me. Like I lost you for a second.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, okay. Okay, maybe my own question before we start taking this. Okay, so there's the first question from Promise. He says, what's the most common challenges experienced in this process of rewiring? What from your experience, from your work, uh, what are the challenges people face to get to the point where they no longer skip the logic instead of just reacting? They are able to build themselves to the point where even in that situation, that typically they will have that seat. Now they have a bit more control. What is the biggest challenge you've seen so far?
Yeah, if I understand correctly, the biggest challenge that I see in leaders who are trying to grow this part or one of their capacities is understanding that it's not a quick fix. That the rewiring process, well, first of all, your memories have been wired that way for decades for many of us. And they are, we hear about how there's grooves in our brain and they're deep, and every time we think the same way, it deepens. And so it takes a while. Like for me, it took a year for my anxiety to go from a 9 to a 1. The other part is that it's hard work, because essentially what your brain is doing in its stress response is trying to protect you from something that hurts. Well, the way to rewire it is to lean in to what you think will hurt, and it usually does. But this time, the original memory happened, it hurt because of 4 things. Either you were alone, you felt powerless, you felt like you didn't have a voice, or you didn't have a choice. To rewire a situation, you have to allow those emotions to come up, but this time you're with somebody who wants to hear your voice, so you're not alone. They want to give you choice, they want to hear your voice, and they want to walk with you. And it is so simple, but it is so profound how revisiting past memories with somebody, especially somebody who's trained, and this can't be done with anyone, but will help your brain to realize, oh, I was holding on to my 5-year-old response instead of realizing now I'm not 5 anymore. And getting leaders to trust the process and then hang in there long enough for it to work is probably one of the biggest challenges I have encountered.
Hey, no, good. Thanks for sharing. I think we also have some other thoughts there. So we have Hanifa, who has the tag Your Neighborhood Neuroscientist. She says she does love the emphasis on embodiment, action taking, as this helps to rewire the hardwired brain, as you mentioned. She also made a statement, said, I would like to clarify that the unconscious and subconscious mind is automatic responses that has been wired into our brains, not necessarily restricted to one region. So those are her thoughts on,
Okay.
yeah, that she shared in the comments. Yeah. Um, so, and this is me just thinking, right? Um, let's say I had some memories as maybe as a child that probably influenced my responses, and now I am older. Uh, is it possible that some of the responses we have is what is then passed down to other kids? Like when parents start having kids, is it possible that they pass that same mind into their kids, and then that becomes more like a family um, family concern, if that's the word to use? And how can they break that cycle? Because if I can imagine growing up in a house where parents respond that way, right? Because probably they experience some things, and then that seems like the new normal, even from childhood. Um, yeah, what can people do to like break that? Because that's not what we want to carry on to the next generation. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and this is what you're talking about, Wilson, is absolutely
indeed.
our brains. And here's one thing I didn't put in this presentation, but the research on the right brain is so fascinating. Bruce Ecker is one of the leading neuroscientists who is kind of leading that charge. But essentially, what they're finding is that our responses don't have to be verbal. They don't even have to be active, physically active. But what happens is that the right side of our brain, they've done research where they've measured our brain waves of two people talking or interacting. And what they found is that the brain waves from inside your brain on the right side transcend, they go beyond your skull. And they are literally projecting out of your head and scanning your environment for safety. The same is true for you. Like when we meet and talk, even on a computer, there's something that our right brain is doing subconsciously, scanning for safety. It's why when you walk into a room without talking to anyone or interacting with anyone and you might feel something, it's very likely that it's your right brain picking up messages from other brains. It's fascinating. It starts to go into the research on mirror neurons, on how we impact one another and read one another. And so when you talk about families that have grown up together, then you add experience after experience that is acting out of trauma, then this starts to create an impact. So, back to your question, the way to break the cycle, I actually have multiple people in my circle who have been in this position, come from abusive homes, homes of addiction, all the different things, homes of just anger. They're like, I'm tired of being angry. And what they did is they got really honest. They didn't necessarily take my assessment that's over here, but what they did is start assessing what is broken in me and got really honest about it, and then connected with safe people. That is the number one key to being able to change. It's by having safe people who are okay with you being broken, okay with you being angry, who have that higher capacity, because then they can give you a new experience where they're not going to be overwhelmed by your anger or your addiction or your fill in the blank. And then they can stay curious and help you to be curious to get to the root issue of your anger, which very often is fear. It's a sense of no security. It's a lack of definition, the capacity for definition or clarity in who they are. And so once you get to start seeing, then you get to start interacting and pursuing interactions and relational connections that start rewiring. But it all starts with getting really honest.
Someone dropped a question, how long does it take? And I'll just ask you that, how long does it take?
Well, it depends. Like I said, for me to go from a 9 to a 1 in anxiety, and I was pretty debilitated. I was in the middle of trying to write my dissertation. I'm a former English teacher. I couldn't write a paragraph because my brain was spinning so much I couldn't focus. I had one client who, after one session, started feeling the results and said, I have been going to therapy for this for 24 years. And we got further today than we ever got in all those years. So it depends how it just is so unique. You know, all of our brains are different. For some people, there's a lot of resistance to accessing their emotions. And so those take a little bit longer. But if there's a willingness and you keep showing up back to your pillar of consistency, then it will yield results. So sometimes, yeah, there really is no answer for how long does it take. What I'm hoping that people understand is that your brain is created to heal what was broken, to rewire, to grow. And it doesn't grow through information, it grows through relational interactions.
It's so powerful, just knowing that our brain is able to heal, like you said, grow, rewire. So let's look at things from an organizational perspective. And I don't know how possible this is, but usually when someone does very well in their job, after a period of time, they are promoted to leadership roles. I don't think most organizations pay so much in detail, like they pay attention to, is this person even capable of leading from this perspective, right? This person is technically sound, this person can get the job done. Boom,
Yeah.
leader. So in such scenario where someone is already a leader and never even knew that he or person was not conscious of these struggles, what would you advise organizations when it comes to choosing their next leaders, and how can they probably set up a system to help them? Obviously, if someone is due for a promotion, you want to promote that person. but maybe this person should go through some coaching, some training. I don't know. Um, what form of advice would you give to organizations when it comes to selecting their leaders and preparing them for that role, using what you just shared with us today?
Yeah. So many assessments are geared more toward skills and personality types and preferences. But there is not much out there that helps identify capacity. So it's something I'm working on right now. I have a couple of assessments that are kind of in testing phase right now. And and however those assessments happen, some sort of coaching and development. I mean, this is what I do. I'm working with an organization right now I'm working with the 5 C-suite leaders and the 9 managers who are managing, and even a couple of others. And the beauty of it, and the beauty of it is that the C-suite is willing to keep growing, to lead themselves by allowing me to step in. That's number one. Is your C-suite willing? Because I promise you, they have been promoted and become more and more isolated as they go. And it's the opposite of what we need for development. We need connection. And I think coaching is one really great way to meet that need. And then the second thing is to have ongoing interactive experiences with someone like a neurocoach like me who knows what types of interactions they need to be able to grow those capacities. It really can become a game changer.
Hey, thank you. I think we've come to the end of today's webinar. Thank you so much. I personally have learned a lot from this, and I'm going to rewatch this video. Really engage. I already follow your content, so I get to learn things for free. So all those listening, please follow Julia, and you will learn a lot. Visit her website, and yeah, I guess if they have questions, they can still come to your DMs to just ask
Please do.
for more information. Right? Is that fine? Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Okay, so thank you. It's been a pleasure having you, and we truly enjoyed this session. And yeah, all the best, even as you keep changing the world, teaching this stuff for real. I think most people are not even aware how much damage has been done with how they grew up. In fact, someone just asked the question, how did someone even know that the thoughts they're having and how the decisions they're making are original and not coming from environmental influences or like how they grew up? How can they even be sure that they're making the right decision? And that's a lot to unpack, right? And that's why coaches like you like really help lead us to understand these things. So thank you once again. It's been a pleasure having you. And yeah, we look forward to connecting with you again in the future and just following up with your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilson, and thank you for all that you're doing. Just inviting people like me on here. I just love it. Like I said, it's a way to bring people from all over the world together and connect in a meaningful way. So, such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And do enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks to all our participants, our guests, all those who joined the call. Thank you so much. And we look forward to connecting again next month. And for those who are interested, next month we'll be talking about money. So we're bringing in someone who is an expert in helping people monetize their skills better. So for those who are looking for better ways to earn, I think you want to really tune in also for the next webinar every last Saturday of the month. Just check the date, 5 p.m. British Standard Time. We are here, we're talking with someone that's helping us grow our skills and help us move towards the life we want. So from here, from the Growth Blog, we say thank you and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.